And we are live. Donald's getting his card. Welcome back. The Food and Loathing Podcast, having a having a great time at the Fancy Food Show, talking to a lot of people, seeing a lot of new faces, people I've only communicated with via the internet, and then, man, a guy that I've known for years, and talk about an innovator in the Las Vegas food and beverage scene. Usually when I use that term, I'm talking about a chef, maybe a mixologist, but man, Donald is a game changer here. My friend Donald Contursi, the founder of, let me know if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, by the way, founder of Lip Smacking Foodie Tours. And wow, how long have we known each other?
I think we met, it's been about 6 years maybe now.
Yeah, it was right when you were starting up, man. I remember you and I hanging out at RM Seafood upstairs. I remember bumping into you at a poolside at Caesar's Palace, right? And it was always like, hey, man, I got this new thing. I'm doing this new thing. And I'm like, man, you hustle and you make sure you get your shit in front of people, and I appreciate that and I respect that. But what I've really respected, and I've been writing about Lip Smacking Foodie Tours since you started, is that you give food tours of Las Vegas, but you do more than just take people to good restaurants. You really give them some backstory. You know about the chefs. You know about the art that's hanging on the walls. You know about the buildings, the architecture. So you are really a tour guide for the city of Las Vegas, using food as your backdrop. And you have a team of people working for you who really know this town. How'd you get into doing this, man? And what's your philosophy in presenting the Las Vegas food scene to tourists?
I mean, I worked in restaurants for over 10 years as a server. I worked at RM Seafood. I worked at STK. I opened the restaurant as a server there. Botero over at Wynn, Gordon Ramsay Steak. And then I started dining out. You know, anytime you'd put out an article, I'd read it and I'd go check it out. And that created the knowledge of, you know, all the different restaurants, which dishes you're supposed to get when you go. And, you know, when I travel somewhere, a big part of it is the food. You know, where am I going to go eat? And I know a lot of people do the same in Las Vegas, and they have to narrow down their choices if they're here for just a couple nights, and hopefully they make the right decision. Then when they get to the restaurant, hopefully they choose the right items. You know, they maybe want to play a safe bet. So I just thought, since everything is so consolidated on the Las Vegas Strip, to actually go to multiple restaurants for their signature dishes. And, you know, there's so much rich content throughout the resorts, art installations, just things that, you know, if you're an insider or you work at the hotel, you definitely know these things. But as a tourist, you know, there's so much going on that you sometimes don't see or get that information. And so I thought, why not create dinner and a show, kind of like the Supper Club, but in a different format. And there are food tours in other cities. They're popular in Europe. But what I figured is, let's do the Vegas version, like we do everything. The nightclubs, the day clubs, the pool parties, the brunch, everything in Vegas is taken up a notch. So I figured we should do the same with our food tours. And so we serve, you know, a ton of food. We go prime hours. We go to the top places, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you do your tours the way that I always ate in Vegas when I first moved here, before I started writing about restaurants a lot, before people recognized me. Let's put it that way, right? And I would just go to a casino and I would have one bite in each restaurant that I loved, because there are so many. The casinos in Las Vegas, you know, where should I eat when I'm in Bellagio? Really? Do you have a month? Because, you know, that if you want to have a full meal, you could do that. So I would go and I'd hit, you know, Chirco at the time, and I'd have my appetizer there. Then I'd go over to Harvest and I'd have something else. And that was the way that I really loved dining out in Las Vegas. You sit at the bar, you order one dish, you have a cocktail. By the time you get to dish number 5, you've had a lot of cocktails, you know, you have a good time, you go home. And I stopped doing that after a while because the chefs started recognizing me. They knew I was going to write about them. And so when I ordered one dish, they sent me 12 dishes. And by the time I left, and I know, boo-hoo, I know, it's a rough fucking life I live. I get that, but you can't really do a tour. So I now go on your tours because I know the chefs are only going to send me the one dish that they have. But I do love your tours, and I think that they are custom built for Las Vegas. I know you do them in other cities, and I want you to tell me about the other cities, but also, how's that compare? Because I feel like this town was really built for it more than other towns.
There are great food cities. The reason that we've done them outside of Las Vegas is kind of the same reason that I'm here today at Fancy Food Show. Is we have found a niche where these large groups that are here during the trade show in the day, they're going out at night, entertaining customers, looking to meet other buyers, networking, right? And instead of the standing reception that everybody's so used to, or the traditional dinner reservation where once you're seated, you're there for 3 hours and you're really just talking to the people that you're sitting next to. This experience, the Lip Smacking Foodie Tours, allows greater networking opportunities where you get to go to 4 different restaurants, and every time you go to the next restaurant and you sit down, you end up sitting by somebody else. So we're actually doing a tour for Fancy Food Show this evening. We have a group of about 80 people, and sometimes that's the best networking because you never know who you're going to sit next to, and food and drink brings everybody together.
Yeah, I mean, that's great because number one, you just talk about the one person across from you and one on each side, right? That's 3 people that you might talk to at a dinner. You hit 5 places, now you're talking to 15 people. Also, if you seated next to the asshole who won't shut up, luckily you can sit on the other side when you get to the next restaurant, right?
That's true.
And by the way, I am the asshole who won't shut up at most times, so you don't want to sit near me. I'm not accusing any of y'all of being that asshole, but I am. So, that's great, man. You did a lot of self-guided tours during you created self-guided tours during the pandemic, which I thought was a really intriguing way to respond to a rough situation. And I think we saw a lot of creativity come out of this pandemic, and you're one of the people that I saw being creative. Tell me about how you did that, how it went over, and whether you're going to continue that now that the pandemic's over.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. At a time when we were getting announcements of closures, and we're in the entertainment capital of the world, and there's limited things to do. I thought, now, I take a lot of pride in coming from Las Vegas and developing experiences and that sort of thing. So I took it as an opportunity to, create something new, and it's actually extremely successful. It's a different customer. It's a different price point, a little bit more entry-level pricing. It's for a younger demographic because, some people don't want to have a tour guide, especially locals. They do want to restaurant hop and check out all these different restaurants that they're hearing and reading about, but they don't necessarily want to do it with other tourists or have a tour guide leading them. So we've developed these self-guided food tours, which is a first of its kind. There are self-guided walking tours in Europe, and you download an app, that sort of thing. But ours is is great because it's a virtual guide that if you do want to learn about each restaurant, there's a voiceover to tell you about it, just as the guide would. If not, you just make your reservations at the time that we schedule them according to whatever time that you book. And we have them in Fremont East downtown. We have them in the Arts District. We have Chinatown. We have Green Valley Ranch Hotel, all within that resort. We have Tivoli Village, and even one in Chicago for Deep Dish Pizza Tour. And it's great because it allows us to curate these new experiences without having to staff a tour guide. And so if it books, it makes sense, and it's great for the restaurants as well.
And now you say that's sort of the entry level. Now then, let's talk about the baller level, because you've got some baller level experiences, including a helicopter flyover of the Strip that's part of your foodie tour. So tell me about that and some of the higher end things that you do.
So every night we offer we've been partnered with Maverick Helicopters for about 5 years. And after the Lip Smacking tour over at Aria, they pick you up from the hotel, they take you to the terminal. It's the flight over the Strip. It's what we call the cherry on top, or dessert after dessert. And it's great for, anniversaries, special occasions, a bucket list sort of experience when you come to Vegas. And then our premier experience, which does really well, especially for, a lot of times we've seen maybe the husband's birthday or something, is our ultimate steakhouse tour. That takes you to 3 of the top steakhouses, limousine transportation, signature appetizer from each, unique steak. It's not going to be a filet, a New York, and a ribeye. It's going to be like a dry aged or an A5 Kobe or something that's just very unique, along with a signature side dish and dessert as well. Comes with either a wine pairing or a craft cocktail at each. We go to Bizarre Meat. Our latest one, we went over to Carver's Steak. We go to Prime. We get the table overlooking the fountains of Bellagio. I mean, it's really over the top. It's a lot of food as well.
Wow. Just to give people an idea of the price point, we've talked low end, high end. What's the spectrum of the tours that you offer?
Self-guided, those begin at $79 a person. It includes gratuities at each restaurant. We're talking 12 dishes. It's tremendous value when you see what you get. Then we have the guided; those start at $125 for lunch. The dinner $199. You want to add the helicopter? It's an extra $100. You want to add the optional beverage package? It's an extra $60, inclusive of gratuities. And then the steakhouse tour is $799 a person. But when you see what you get, the value's really there.
Yeah, and that's Vegas, man. You need something in every price range because we all do Vegas differently. But you know what? You need to have those options because sometimes you want to be a baller. Sometimes you just want to get the most for your buck, most bang for your buck. And I like that. Also, I've got to thank Donald, man. When I left the Review Journal, I was looking for some places to write. I had a lot of projects going on, this podcast being first and foremost among them. I was also concentrating on my app, which we'll talk about in a second. You've already seen me plug it 500 times today. But Donald gave me a place to write on his blog, on the Lip Smacking Foodie Tours blog. I hope to go back and do some more writing over there as well. But you can find some roundups that I've done on places to get dinner and a show and that kind of stuff. So thank you for giving me a venue to write for professionally. There aren't a lot of places for those of us who like to write about food in this town to write. So I wanted to thank you for that. He also, as I was putting Neon Feast together, you've been hearing me plug it all day, the app soft launched just in time for the Fancy Food Show. I surveyed a lot. I sent out surveys to about 75 experts in this town, got them back from about 45-ish. It was a long fucking survey, right? You took the survey. Donald got one. He filled it out in detail, and so many of the restaurants he recommended are now on the app. And it's also been great that as the writers, because we've got a great team of professional writers that are writing the entries for Neon Feast, and a lot of times we see that you voted for a restaurant, but you didn't put a lot of words down because it was a long freaking survey. And I know a lot of my writers and myself have been calling you, asking for little quotes here, little quotes there. So I don't know if you've downloaded the app yet, but you have to download it now because you're quoted all over the damn thing.
Yeah.
And I think you'll just be surprised where you pop up. And so thank you for that. Thank you for supporting my projects, man. It's my pleasure to always support yours. Lip Smacking Foodie Tours. You can look up my track record with this company. I raved about it in Las Vegas City Life. I think I raved about it in Vegas 7. I wrote about it for the Las Vegas Review Journal. I don't go and write about the same people over and over again if I don't think that they're doing something pretty fucking amazing. This guy is doing something pretty fucking amazing. So please check out Lip Smacking Foodie Tours when you're in Vegas.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Al.
brother.